Hang on, let me start recording. You ready to go?
Ready.
No, Phil said something and then left.
Oh.
But he was muted. We'll start recording. Anyway.
I don't think I got an agenda tonight. I got lots of stuff, but I didn't see an agenda, but that's okay.
I can bail you out.
Okay. That's good. So is Phil back? Oh, there's Phil. Okay.
Hello.
So can I open the meeting at 7:01?
You can.
All righty. And the first order of business is reorganization, I believe.
All right, hands off to me. So starting with reorganization, I'm looking for nominations for chair.
I'm going to nominate Elaine again.
I'm happy to do it again. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Yeah. Me.
Yes.
Any other nominations?
Move the nominations be closed.
You motion to close nominations?
Yeah.
I'll second that. Nominations. So, all those in favor of Elaine for chair?
Aye.
Elaine, Michael, Ashley.
Ashley's still muted.
We haven't heard from Ashley. She's here, but I haven't heard from her yet. Phil?
Yes.
And then Denise.
Yes.
All right, so I got 401.
All righty.
All yours, Dr. Campbell.
Okay. Can we have a nomination for vice chair, please?
Isn't that Michael?
I'm happy to nominate Michael.
Where is vice chair?
Not me.
Somebody second, Michael?
Second.
I can do it again.
All righty. Do we have to roll call?
You do.
All right. Phil?
Yes.
Okay. Denise?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Michael?
Yes.
Ashley? She's unmuted now. Ashley, is that a yes? She's still here, but not vocal.
Nod your head, Ashley. Sorry. This is my second meeting, so I'm going to be a little bit silly. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. All righty. Well, it's unanimous. We'll take it as unanimous. And then we need secretary. Is that right? Even though Kristen always takes the notes. I think that's currently, is that currently Phil?
It's currently Ashley.
Yeah.
Ashley. Okay.
Ashley's done a fine job.
Ashley wants to do it again.
There you go.
I think you guys did this to her last time as well.
Since she's not
so you made her do it.
We're going to have her do it again. I'll nominate Ashley.
I'll second it.
All right.
I'll second Ashley.
Okay. Phil?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Ashley? We're going to take that as a yes. And myself, yes. All right. Unanimous. And then what's next is, do we have a treasurer? No. Do we?
It is, let me peek, I'm going between two screens.
So the next one is going to be the Union 38 representatives. Currently, it's Michael Merritt, Elaine, and Phil. You appoint these now, Elaine.
Okay. Or is everybody happy to do it again?
Unless Denise wants to be on it.
No, I'm fine. Just staying on Conway.
All righty.
All right, I'll do that.
So I appoint Michael, myself, and Phil, Union 38.
And then you're also, right now, also the Frontier representative. Currently, it's Phil.
Phil, you still want to be a glutton for punishment?
I guess. Yeah.
All righty.
Yes.
Sounds good. Phil, you're it. I thought Ashley was too.
Ashley's the at large.
Oh, okay.
The elected Frontier rep.
Okay. Okay. There you go.
And then the collaborative representatives, currently Michael.
I
Michael?
was curious if if anybody else wanted to have a turn at it, it's a valuable experience. It is a commitment where every other month there's about a 2.5 hour meeting. So it's like take 2 school committee meetings and put them back to back because it's every other month. But it's an amazing crew of people at the collaborative.
It is very interesting.
And it really gives you a lot of insight into what's going on kind of across all of Western Massachusetts in terms of supporting the entire public school education.
What's the timing of those meetings?
Say that again?
What is the timing of the meetings? Are they during the day? Weekday?
No, they're at night. They've been trying to remember the last time. It's like 6 to 8:30 or 9 o'clock or something like that. So it is a pretty long meeting.
The good news, it's remote right now, so you don't have to go down and have to do the dinner thing and make a full evening of it.
Were you going down to Northampton before, Michael? Is it Northampton?
When it's in person, they alternate between the collaborative building in Northampton and the transportation center up in Greenfield. And both times they serve a really nice kind of catered food area that you can get dinner that way. So yeah, now that it's been remote, I've been missing out on dinner. But I would say at some point in every committee person's life, it's worth taking on the role because you really do learn a lot about public education in a more broad, in terms of like all of Western Mass and what's happening and supporting students that are some of the most vulnerable students. So.
Michael, that sounds like a role I can take.
Okay.
Cool.
But you're going to owe her dinner that she doesn't get for the year. There's no dinner, right?
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
I mean, there'll be an orientation meeting that they'll invite you to that takes place like the first 30 minutes prior to the meeting starting. So it's like at 5 or 5:30 or something. It's a really interesting experience. So if you're willing to take it on, I'm happy to support you.
Cool. Denise is our collaborative rep. That sounds great. And it is. I've done it several times, many years, and it's a useful experience.
I'm glad to do that.
Awesome.
And
cool.
The last one, Elaine, is the negotiations team. Currently, it's you and Phil. It's not a negotiation year, but you never know when the team has to come together if we have to do any other issues with all the. I mean, we have an MOA we're going to vote tonight that's really going to set up this year, but you never know when we have to take the mothballs out. It's not a big year for that committee.
I feel like we've had so much fun on that committee on the last year that Phil and I just need to keep doing it again. Man, did we spend a lot of time together. But anyway, if everybody else is okay with that, we'll just keep rolling.
That works.
Here.
I'm okay if Phil and Elaine continue.
All right. Sounds good. All righty.
Your next agenda item is to review and approve the minutes of August 19th, 2020.
I was not at that meeting, but could I have a motion to approve them?
Yeah, they look fine.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Phil?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
All righty. And I think I can vote. I think we cleared that up at one point. Or should I abstain? I can vote, right?
You can vote if you believe the minutes to be true and accurate.
All right. I will vote. I will agree. Yes. All righty, next order of business. It's
Financial
unanimous.
statements and signing the warrant.
Yep, Shelley sent them along. Hope everybody reviewed them.
Yep, I shared the 2 financial reports for general fund and school choice electronically, and also a quick little snapshot for Conway Grammar School. There's not a whole lot to report on tonight. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Does anyone else hear that? Maybe it's
I do.
No? Oh, do you have your mic on?
Okay, try again. So there were 12 warrants totaling $45,574.43 that were reviewed and signed electronically since the last meeting. I hope that process is going well. If at any point you want to talk about the process, please let me know. I'm happy to take questions about individual line items on the expense reports that I shared if you have them. I don't have much to update you on. You will see some COVID-related expenses that are on the school choice report as well as the general fund expense report. We set those up prior to getting the grant funding, so I'm looking to reallocate some of that once we are done spending, and we'll move things back to where they need to be. But just to get the orders in, we did put them on the school choice accounts. The most significant COVID-related expenses to date have been HVAC and ventilation repairs.
Yeah.
General building and custodial supplies, and PPE and nursing supplies. Nothing extraordinary, nothing that I'm concerned about as far as that goes, but just wanted you to know that that's what we've spent most of the COVID money on so far. And then Kristen and I are in conversation regularly about staffing needs given the educational model that we have this year. There was a discussion, before we decided on the model, what the different costs would be associated with the different models. We obviously didn't use that as the driving factor to make the decision, but there certainly was question of, is hybrid going to cost us more? Is hybrid going to have savings? Is remote going to have savings? And I'm learning quickly at this point that the hybrid model certainly doesn't present an opportunity for a lot of savings. Some of the concerns relate to staffing to make sure that we have adequate coverage in the building as well as remotely to meet the needs of both populations. We also have some staff who have accommodations to work remotely due to the coronavirus, or we made some exceptions for staff to work remotely. So that caused a little bit of hardship financially. However, it's nothing to be concerned about at this point. Kristen is very conservative, and she is doing what she can to use the resources that she has. But I did want to put it on your radar that we are continuously reviewing staffing needs and that there may be a need to add additional staffing, especially when it comes to substitute coverage. So nursing coverage, teaching coverage, and custodial coverage is all an area of concern. In a small school, if we have a single custodian out for any length of time, it is problematic. And finding a sub is the first problem, and then paying the sub is the second problem. And that's across the board with teaching and nursing staff. So just things that I want to put on your radar, nothing that I think we have to get into great detail about, but just wanted you to be familiar with some of the things that Kristen and I and Darius are in conversation about. So the last piece before I wrap up is the school lunch program. I'm happy to report that Conway is in really great shape comparatively to some of the other schools in our district. Unfortunately, some of the other schools are really struggling with certain things like early childhood and special education because those are tuition-driven programs and they have wages going out. So in Conway, the one program that is of area of concern right now is the school lunch program. And we had talked about this previously. You all know the history here. The program has never made a great deal of money. This year, we ended fiscal year 20 with a potential deficit. We moved some wages around so that didn't happen. We're going to have to do the same thing in 21. Right now, we're looking at the funds available of almost $7,000 with roughly $23,000 in wages currently to be paid. So the thing with the wages is we need to assess what's going to happen with the lunch program, how many kids are going to eat breakfast and lunch at school because the USDA did extend the free lunch and free breakfast for all families and students, which is great. Our community needs that, but it also means that we don't have revenue coming in from students buying lunch, and the government reimbursement is less than what our lunches would cost. So we need to give it a good 6-8 weeks, I think, once kids are back in the building, and see what we're doing for pickup of lunches and see what we're serving for lunches. And then I can come up with some estimates on what I think we're going to make from government reimbursement. The goal is at a minimum food costs, that we're covering our food costs with that reimbursement. But it is likely that salaries and wages, we are going to have to come up with another avenue to pay that staff. Or the other option is to reduce staffing, but at this point, we're not making that move. We need our staff in the building right now to be prepping and planning, and then to get through this first chunk of school. And then we'll go from there and see how things are once we have a better idea of how many meals we're actually serving. So no action to be taken right now.
Can I ask you a question, Shirley?
Yep, of course.
I know that we've been made meals available this whole time remotely, right?
Yep.
So does that generate any revenue for reimbursement currently?
It does, yeah. We did get some reimbursement, and we still were ending the year with a deficit. So the school lunch program just has not been overly healthy. And, Mary and I are in close conversation about what that looks like and how we get through this year and make the most of it. The reimbursement is only on meals served. So I don't know off of the top of my head if, are we not serving enough meals? Are we ordering more food than we need? The program is that it's free for all children under 18. So one of the other things that we faced is that family members who may not be, siblings, things like that, who may not be Conway grammar school students, they could also get breakfast and lunch. So, there's certainly some challenges with it financially, even though it's really good for our community. So it's something we're just going to have to assess. Short answer, yes, Michael, we'll get some government reimbursement.
Hey, Shelley, on a larger scale, but are we a unique community? How many communities do you think across Massachusetts are getting the adverse effect? So it's great that the USDA stepped forward and everybody gets free lunch, but we actually have to pay more as a district in order to offset that cost. In your conversations just around, is that, or even on your listserv, is that happening across the state, or we are one of those communities that we just don't have enough free and reduced lunch to offset that to begin with? Because it's affecting not just Conway, it's affecting all of our schools this way, folks. So I didn't bring this up at the last meeting.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a really good question. I certainly can ask in my next regional business managers meeting to see what's happening. But I imagine it's like you're describing. We know that Conway's population is on the higher end of according to the state, right, on the higher end of the income scale. And so that's why we don't get as much Chapter 70 either, right? So if we don't have a lot of free and reduced lunches, it's really, we're kind of in a way giving away some of the food. I imagine larger cities, Springfield, Chicopee, those kind of places, they're not having the same issue necessarily that we are.
Yeah. So another question for you, Shelley. So first of all, the thing that's so unfair about the way that they calculate that last bit that you were talking about is that in Conway, the numbers are skewed by just the presence of 6 families, 6 households skew our numbers. We're a small enough community that 6 households can skew our numbers and make them unrepresentative of the other whatever 890 households that are. So we're not as wealthy as they say we are. It's just six families among us are, but the rest of us are not. So the other thing is that when I hear the way that our school lunch program is described and how there's these built-in assumptions that it should be pulling its own weight, I've always sort of argued that those are unfair because when you look at the whole history of the school lunch program, if the federal government reimbursement just tracked inflation from the time that school lunch programs were established in the mid 70s, the amount of reimbursement per meal would be like $9, I think they said, and $9 and something. And so, the reason that it's so bad is because the federal government has not kept its faith with this program as they had promised when it was started. And, that it's kind of unreasonable to have expectations that it will break even, that it's just that these are money losers, and these will always be money losers until the powers that be play fair. And yet, so like I that's even on a good year, and this is not a good year for that. But so, what's that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I agree with you to some degree. I do think that it's a tough program to be a moneymaker or to even carry its own weight, as you're saying. And if that's the position that the school committee wants to take, we can certainly look at that and recognize that we're not expecting the salaries of the cafeteria staff to be paid out of there, and how are we going to pay for them properly in future years. So it's definitely
Shelley, when we charge that $2.50 a meal, are we just breaking even?
It depends on.
Are we even breaking even? Are we able to pay the staff? Because I don't know. Are we able to when we have revenue coming in from parents, are we able to break even? Is that the typical?
So this is only my first year really working with this program, but what I know of history of this and what I inherited last year is that the program has not had a good history and has not broke even in years, that it has ended several years with negative balances.
Is that because we're not getting the parents, because we have bills outstanding, or because we're not charging enough, or do we have a sense of why?
It's kind of it's a mixture. It's a mixture of how many people are buying hot lunch versus how many we're getting free and reduced on those hot lunches. And then your cost per hot lunch. So the more popular items, you sell more, but it costs more. Those kind of, and then we do have some outstanding bills as well that people didn't pay off their bills at the end. So it's a kind of a combination of all three of those factors, because and also you have a small population. So if you get 10 people who don't buy lunch for a week because they decide to bring their lunch for a week, and it's a cool thing to do for a while, it affects the overall bunch.
The food costs are so high. It's hard to believe that we can charge $2.50,
Well, and Mary does a good job at trying to take advantage of whatever is reduced rate through the government. There's even some things that we get for free. There's also really strict guidelines, not that we don't want to serve good food, but there's really strict guidelines, way more strict than I anticipated, as to what we can serve and how many things of each item you have to have: a grain, a fruit, a vegetable, so there has to be enough variety. So I think she tries to be creative and keep food costs down as much as she can, but it's certainly a challenge. And none of the schools, nobody is making an extraordinary amount of money in their school lunch program. That's not the point of the school lunch program anyway. But the goal at most of the schools is to at least fund your food costs, a little bit of overhead things like, repairs and stuff like that, and then your salaries and wages. But, Conway, that's just not been realistic.
Once they took ice cream away, that was the downfall of the school lunch program. That was it. That was the end. It was already struggling, but that just put the nail in the coffin, at least according to my son.
And we have in the past decided not to sue people that we otherwise could have extracted money from had we sued them. I remember participating in several votes of that nature. So I'm talking about parents that would have owed us money. So
right. Yeah. All righty. Anything else in the financial report?
So just another thing just coming up, are we going to be seeing savings on the transportation end of things? And is there a sense of how much savings we are going to be seeing?
Right now, we're Shelley and I are negotiating that right now. We met with our attorney this morning to review the Gripco contract and the change in the contract. Right now, it's just to kind of give you an overview, it's very difficult because we have to prepare for busing that allows about 22 students per bus. Okay, because you have to do every other seat, staggered seating according to the recommendations. On top of that, we also are concerned that we are going to have increased ridership as the year goes on. And so having to be able to prepare to be able to add buses to the bus lines after we reduce them and moving that forward as well. So that's one of the things that we're dealing with moving forward right now. And so we don't have a full contract yet, but when we do, I'll be bringing it back. It should have it probably early next week. Right now, we discussed it with the attorney this morning rather, and he's going to go through and put some language together.
I thought I had heard that in Conway, we didn't have many students that were going to be taking the bus. Is that true?
That's true, but your mileage is huge. Oh. So in order to have a bus from one end of town to go to the other end of town, it's a 45-minute trip.
Okay.
So it becomes a big issue. And so, the number of riders from one end of town to the other end of town, they still need to have 2 runs, even though the number of ridership may be 10 on each bus, let's say. It's still not a full, you could probably do it on one bus, but it would be an hour and a half, cycle to go through and pick everybody up. So that's you look at you jump in.
Well, and the split schedule, right? So there's certain kids Monday, Thursday, and there's different kids Tuesday, Friday. So you still have to run your bus all 4 days, even though the number of kids is small on those buses. So, that's one of those things I was saying that, we thought hybrid model, we're going to have some savings. And in the end, it's turning out we're not really seeing that as much. So it's complicated.
So, Phil, I will say, looking at the preliminary things, it's not a huge bailout. Because, you know what I mean? There may be and the other side is we could save money if we have an awful COVID experience. You know what I mean? Because the buses won't be running, which means awful things are happening in our community overall with COVID. You know what I mean? If things run great in our county, we have the numbers we had last week projected and moving forward, then we're going to spend more on transportation. That's a good thing. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of these, which means we'll spend our budget, what we budgeted for transportation. So it's not like we're going to be spending more. It's just we won't have savings. It's kind of it's a messed up idea. Like we have savings because, bad things are happening in our community where we can't bring our kids to school. Which is kind of crazy. So, but yeah, we do. We've been talking about it in that way as well. So
interesting. All right. Thanks.
See, Darius, Amanda joined the meeting. I've never.
I'm going to introduce her in a moment. Who's this face? Awesome. What is she doing here? Who let her in? Yeah. She's not Zoom bombing us. I'll tell you that. If you have in mind, I could skip ahead to Amanda's portion on the schedule on our agenda. May I do it, Elaine?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So Amanda is here. She's part of our Anti-Racism and Equality Committee. And I sent you all the mission statement and goals, and I was giving you an update today. And Amanda has volunteered to come on and kind of give we've hired her as a consultant. Amanda is a graduate of Frontier 2013, Sunderland graduate, whatever you made up, 2007, you think you estimated. I don't want to take away your punchlines. But she's going to give a little overview about what the committee's work is doing, where we're at this point in time, and then answer any questions as well. So we thought it'd be great that she'd be here. So Amanda, you want to talk a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I confirmed with my mom it's 07 for Sunderland a while ago. But hello, everyone. It's good to be with you this evening. So my name's Amanda. I am helping out the district and Frontier with thinking about issues of race and equity. I realized I was talking at the Sunderland meeting and I just jumped into what we're doing and I didn't say anything about myself, and someone unmuted at the end and asked like, who are you? So I'm going to not make that same mistake twice. And I'm going to start with what I'm doing and how I came to be in this role. So after Frontier, I went on to college and I studied racial inequality. That was my focus field. So this is sort of my wheelhouse, my area of expertise. And how I came to be in this role is a little haphazard and wasn't particularly expected. But I played a small role in putting together the alumni letter that was signed by hundreds of Frontier alumni. And when I say small part, I should really underline that. A lot of people did a lot of amazing work on that, and they sent it to me and asked if I had anything to add. And I added a couple of things and then said I would love to be a part of the follow-up for this. And I got looped into email threads of, planning the first parts of the anti-racism and equity kind of district committee. And then after that, I have been playing a larger role with the kind of subcommittees that are specifically working with the elementary schools. So those are the professional development committees and the curriculum committee. And so I'm here today to just tell you guys about what that work has looked like and what it's going to look like through the end of this year. So I'll start with the professional development. Professional development, we've had one kind of district-wide Union 38 session that sort of served as an introduction to anti-racism work. The goal of it was really calling everyone in to this conversation and saying why, even in a district that is predominantly white, this work is very necessary. And that, I think, went phenomenally well. I think there were a lot of people who were really moved and incredibly engaged, and I could not have asked for anything more from that. I'm very overwhelmed, honestly, by how incredible of an experience this has been so far. Our second professional development session is tomorrow, which will serve as an introduction to two separate pathways that myself and the professional development committee have designed, which are 8 sessions, each 1 hour long, that are kind of self-guided, that teachers, administrators, staff will go through in small groups. And so those two different pathways for professional development are white privilege and identity and history of racism. So teachers, staff will choose kind of which pathway they really want to immerse themselves in. And in groups of about 10, they're going to go through a pre-designed curriculum. And that curriculum involves articles, podcasts, videos, discussion questions, and really thinking about what does this work look like in our lives, in our classrooms, in our schools, in our communities. And so that's sort of the professional development aspect. And then for curriculum, the elementary curriculum committee has 3 goals that they are working on. The first 2 are concrete and the third is much broader, and I'll go through them now. So the first goal is to create common vocabulary and understanding of different terms, different aspects of anti-racist work. And the goal is so that teachers who are teaching, kindergartners or teaching 3rd graders or teaching 6th graders all have developmentally appropriate ways of approaching this work and bring it into their classrooms and answering questions that kids may have, because the fact is that kids really start to identify and begin to pathologize racial difference at age 4. And so even our youngest kids recognize racial difference and are starting to internalize some negative concepts. And so what the first goal is really trying to accomplish is making sure that when those conversations come up in the classroom, teachers have developmentally appropriate ways of addressing it with kids. And then the second goal is book recommendations, 5 book recommendations per grade level that feature diverse protagonists, diverse plots, just kind of everything to really expose kids in our district to different kinds of people. And that's huge. And it's a really natural way to bring up these conversations in the class, because really not having these conversations does not mean that, you know, nothing is happening. It means that we're just not talking about it and kids are sort of internalizing stuff. And then the third goal is to really revamp curriculum so that it is more inclusive, more truthful, more honest historically. Just tells history, for example, from more different, varied perspectives. And that's an ongoing, much broader goal. And the goal of the first 2 points is really to help teachers have the foundation to really tackle that third. Yes, I know I did a lot of talking. If anyone has any questions, I am happy to answer them.
So I'll ask a question, Amanda. I'm Phil Cantor.
Hello.
So, hey, in your opinion, are we doing enough?
No.
Cool.
But
But is it possible for us to be doing enough?
That is exactly what I was going to address. No, and it's never going to be enough. This is a process, and I think that, frankly, before the alumni letter, before I got involved with that, I was like, this district is beyond hope. There's no. I was a little Black girl in this district, and it was not easy. It really was not easy. And I have been, like, I cannot emphasize this enough. I've been absolutely overwhelmed by the eagerness, by the hunger, by the drive, not only of the people who are on these committees, the teachers who are putting in so much time and energy into educating themselves and then developing curricula to help educate their colleagues, but also the teachers who have really risen to the challenge of having uncomfortable conversations, recognizing that, you know, what they have been doing isn't enough and are actively working to counter that. So my first answer, my initial reaction was very pessimistic sounding, but it truly is not. And I don't think that I'm just thinking of friends from all over the US who I'm telling them about the work that I'm doing with my old school district, and they're saying my school district isn't doing anything. That is the overwhelming response of what they're saying. So are we doing enough? We can always do more. But are we doing really good work? Yes, absolutely. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Any other questions for Amanda?
Just to comment that I'm super thankful that Amanda's here. It's awesome that we have alumni coming back and supporting the district. So thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you. I will, in the chat, I will leave my email. If you have, I'm terrible at coming up with questions in the moment, personally. So if anyone has any further questions, sure, I'll link my email, but answer yours.
So the last bit about the real hard row to hoe, which is the ongoing curriculum aspects, the much bigger part of it. Are we setting up the mechanisms to create that kind of long-term change that or that big broad base kind of change that you're in. I mean, that's something that in my experience, when institutional issues like that really require like a long-term commitment to stay after it. And so could you speak to that sort of institutional commitment to stay after it? Are you seeing that, or are we creating that?
Wow, that's a fantastic question. You're not letting me off easy here.
Well, no, he never does, Amanda. He never does.
That's okay. I think that my initial reaction, my gut reaction, is actually yes. And I think that is because the professional development, the way it has been set up, is incredibly intentional. There are a lot of hours being set aside explicitly for anti-racism work. And I think the most important part of that fact is that it's personal anti-racist work. It is, I think there's so much anti-racist curriculum out there that if you can educate yourself easily, but if you're not applying those learnings to yourself, it is, I don't want to say meaningless because that makes it sound so trivial, but if you're not applying the learnings to yourself, then it's not truly education. And I think the fact that we have set aside so much time for thinking about personal growth, development, positionality, if you walk into the classroom as you are, how does that impact what you are teaching, what you choose to teach, what you choose to leave out? All of that is essential. And once you kind of build that foundation for thinking about how you teach, what you teach, why you teach, how you can reach different groups of people by bringing in different stories and elements into your curriculum, I think that never disappears. That questioning of sources, that kind of looking for lost voices, that doesn't go away. And those are the skills we are building right now. And so I think that is the first step in creating institutional cultural shifts. Yeah.
Cool.
And I just also want to say that we built this committee as it's a community base. It's not just one person from one school that, when they get tired, it ends. But I flip it back around. It's also school committees. If the school committee wants this to be a continued thing, I'm going to be putting it on the agenda, but I also need your feedback and oversight as well. Is like, where are we with this? The continuing inquiry, because you're the link to the public. And as I was saying in the other meeting, Frontier talked about, is there any training that they can get as school committee members as well that can help be applied to this? And so I'm looking into that so that people are interested in that, as well as we'll be having ongoing reports to school committee about what we're up to and basically and updating our policies, which obviously you guys will have to be voting on, to make sure that not just that the language there, the legal language is there, but is our district's tone wanting to be there? Because we have a lot of the checkbox for legal language, but there's a lot of other policies that we're reading out there that really have a tone that talks about racism and what the community stands for in those policies and such, in handbooks and that kind of stuff. So we're going through that as well. So you do have a role in it. And so that also about how it carries forward. And I think, Philly, that question you brought about the institutional commitment, I think you brought up a good question to me, because I think that's something I'll be bringing back to maybe Amanda. I'm telling Amanda to bring back to the committee, because I think we really try to plan, how do we get this thing off the ground and get into the school year? We haven't thought about 2022 yet. And that might be where we have to kind of go after we get things going, is what does this look like for next year and how do we keep this going? What's the next step? And it probably depends on how successful we are in step one, right? Before you build step two. So that's,
How do you define success in something like this? Fewer displays of Confederate flags?
Change.
Yeah. That would be a real nice start, though. The lowest hanging fruit. I would.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think.
Darius. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick comment on. Cool, Darius. I was just thinking about how at the last MASC conference that we attended as school committee members, there's one of the programs is like a mission statement creation for school committees. And I know the MASC conference is going to look different this year. I'm not even sure if it's happening because of gathering restrictions, but I can imagine hopefully by a year from now, school committees will have support from the MASC to help with mission statements and such like that.
Yes, I imagine they would. And, we are looking at all those. I mean, I'm on the policy committee, and we were looking at some of the language and what was missing and what was vacant in it. It's not like the missions and stuff aren't good, but there's stuff missing when you look at it through this lens. And so there's a lot of work there. And as we read through it, there's a lot of better language that we can do in looking at handbooks and how we address things, and where when you look through through this lens, there's things that are vacant that it's not that we purposely allowed behaviors, but we purposely did not also say that we were going to stop behaviors and certain that kind of thing. And so working on that language as well. So more to come on that.
Well, thanks, Amanda, for joining us this evening, and we look forward to more change along the way. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I will pop my email in the chat. I have a lot to say, especially about kind of how we measure success, because I see that as my role. So
awesome.
I will look forward to further conversations. Thank you all for having me.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All righty, Darius, what's next on our agenda?
We're going to take a step back and go to update on school reopening.
All righty.
And I'm going to ask Kristen Gordon thanks, Amanda, to live on the streets of the school.
All righty.
Is there any public comment at all?
There's no public here.
There's no public here. However, we did ask for people to submit in writing. We did not get any in writing I think Donna checked at 4:00 today was the last check. We did not have anything at that point.
I actually received something in writing from somebody.
Okay.
And he actually wrote into the town clerk, who wrote into the town accountant, who wrote into the town treasurer, who wrote into the town administrator, who wrote to me. And he's trying to set up a sale. He's in the sales department of a solar company, and he wants to work out a thing where he donates money for every resident that buys solar. It donates money to the school. He's got a son, a stepson in the school.
Yes.
Have you spoken about it?
I got a phone call from him, and I was going to return his call and tell him that we don't do fundraisers for people's sort of private businesses like that. But
so what I wanted to say is that there is a mechanism that we could do that if we wanted to. Through the town, that the town can vote to accept gifts in a gift fund for the grammar school, and that the town can hold that money for the grammar school to use as they see fit.
Yeah, so the town wanted to do it, Phil. We get the issue with the schools just in general, just over the many years, is that someone might have a Tupperware business, and they'll say, if I sell Tupperware, you can get 20% of the profit, and it would be never ending if we open that kind of can of worms as a school anyway. But as a town, that's up to Darius, but as a school, we would be constantly getting those requests.
I could use new Tupperware. Phil, I was not contacted, so I don't really know the parameters of what this is happening, but it is going into the fine line between public and business, and then promoting business through a public entity is the area where you have to just be careful. So, but I haven't been told. Shoot me the email on that. He sent you an email, if that's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
So this business would actually advertise their product by saying, we're going to give money to the school.
Right. Is that bad? I guess that's bad. I don't know.
Seems like a conflict a little bit. It seems a little weird, but I don't know.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you put restrictions on the use of the name and the use of the logo and the use of, and you just let somebody use the words in a sales pitch and then give us a check. Is that bad?
Well, money's good, but
I don't know.
Well, that becomes when you allow sponsorships in your schools.
Yeah.
So that becomes, we can. It's probably an item for an agenda when we agenda item when I can get the proper policies and that kind of stuff. But
Right.
it is one of those things, because I could say, hey, for every quart of Jim Beam I sell, I'm going to give money to the elementary school. And so is that something that the elementary school would be behind? You know what I mean? I'm just putting it out there as
Yes.
Yeah.
where it is, where do the values? I mean, money's money in some people's minds. Some people would say you also have values of the school and the school's mission, and can some of those things be counter? So.
All right, so we'll table the conversation for now and
All right.
bring it
All right.
up at another time and move on to, where were we going next? We were going
Getting
somewhere.
an update. Kristen was going to tell us
Update
everything
from
about
Kristen.
school.
Yes, update.
So
from
school update, and if it's okay with you, I'll just hit highlights of the principal report and just do it all at once. So school update, we started with our 10 days of PD, and teachers, the staff were very, very busy setting up, doing professional development and setting up classrooms and getting things organized for remote learning. Thursday and Friday were orientation days for all students, and those went very well. The kids were adorable. That's the best part of the job, right? Seeing the kids. It's really hard starting the year seeing the kids on the screen. So yesterday was day one. I was really excited to see a lot of the little kids dressed up and doing little boards, little kindergarten for the first day of school and things like that. It hasn't gone without hitches, but we are, or glitches, but we're working through those every day. So it's day two, and our participation has been really great. The attendance has been great. We've hit some technology glitches, and we're working on those things as we go along. But in terms of the kids' attendance and participation, kids are happy to be back at school. Very difficult to start the year remotely, as many of the staff are commenting. They're really excited to get the students back next Thursday. So the students will be remote this week. They'll be remote Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they'll come back in their cohorts. A will come on Thursday, cohort B will come on Friday, half days. And then the following Monday, Tuesday, cohort A and B half days. And then they'll start full days, full cohorts, October 1st. So just as a quick update, 83% of our students have chosen hybrid, and 17% of our students have chosen remote. So we have a large number of students returning, and I really do feel like we have put in the greatest safety measures that we can for a school. I am really, really way over the side of very, very cautious. That's how we're going to go, and that's how we're going to stay. And even to the point where I wasn't even allowing backpacks. And then we had a big parent meeting, and they all convinced me that they can bring backpacks. So I said, well, you can accuse me of being overly cautious anytime. That's actually a compliment. So that's okay. So other than glitches with technology, we've had a good start. We're trying to catch the kids who have limited or no internet access, and inviting some of those kids back to school 4 days a week, because we don't want the internet issues to be, be in the way of student learning. And I'll be putting an email out to a few parents who we've seen some glitches with, to sort of get names on that list, but we already have quite a few names on the list for that. Our pre-K students are back full time. They started on a Monday, half day this whole week. They are adorable. They're just little 3-4-year-olds, and they come and they're doing a great job with the masks, but much of their day is outside. Sue has, the classroom looks great. We have 10 feet distance with kids. I mean, that program
is really going very well right now. And our wing students, 10 of our wing students started, 100% started back on Monday as well. And they'll be going half days this week. And they have a bigger room, so they're spaced very well. And great 2 days. The parents are so appreciative and really happy to have the students back. So that's how our start is going. I want you to know that I've talked to Tom Hutchinson, and we have 3 tents up right now going for a 4th tent, and the town has agreed to pay for those tental rents. I'm tired. I haven't been sleeping much. Rent tentals. No, stop it. Tent rentals. Serious, I haven't gotten much sleep. Tent rentals under COVID expenses, so that's really great. Darius is going to talk about the HVAC system, but Jamrag has been in the building working on that. In terms of transportation, we have about 24% of our students needing transportation. I want to give you a school choice update. We had 6 students moving out of Conway Grammar School. 4 were 6th graders who moved on to Frontier. 1 who moved out of town, who actually moved to the Berkshires, and 1 who had been school choicing from quite a distance and going into 6th grade and made a switch. So 6 out and 12 new school choice students in. So we made out, we're in the positive in terms of school choice. Special education, I've actually spoken directly to all of our families who have children with special needs, children on IEPs. We've been creating schedules based on individual student needs and creating learning plans for those students that will go out this week. And I'm really pleased with the progress and the offerings that we have made to families that have varying needs. So we're off to a really great start. We're tired. We're really tired like we've never been tired before. But seeing those little kids has been really worth it. You know, a lot of my teachers are saying, can we ask Darius to bring the kids back tomorrow? So we're ready. We have a great team back. We have people working remotely and they're doing a great job. We have a great team in school. I'm really feeling very good about the year. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Kristen, you may have already sent something out or maybe not. What about the 75% of the parents that are driving their kids in? Is there any kind of rotation in terms of drop off and pick up given the volume?
Yeah. So you know what? You know where the point I'm at right now, Denise, which is a good point, actually. I'm ready for the next day. I'm literally ready for the next day. So yes, Jim Carmichael was over talking with me today, and we're talking. It is on my list, but I'm like, okay, as long as I'm ready for the next day, I'm really in good shape. Yeah. So we're gonna have we're gonna start with staggered drop-off times, staggered pickup times, but we don't want those to be too far apart, like an 8:30 drop-off and an 8:45 drop-off, and then a 3 and a 3:15, because we don't want the times to vary that greatly. And also, Jim was talking to Jim, and I'm going to talk to Kenny a little bit about the traffic pattern, because that is a pain. We really have to have staff out there, not let people get out of their cars, pull up. So when I was at my former school, when I was principal, when parents dropped off, you were probably 5 cars deep, and then you on to Route 8, and I got complaints from people going to work in Pittsfield, from Adams, and that they can't get through Adams at a certain time. And I wanted to say, well, go to work a little earlier and that'll be fine. But in any event, we had this great system, and we're going to put it in place at Conway. Parent pulls up, staff member opens the door, keeping their distance with their mask on. Say bye to mom. Say, I love you. Bye, mom. Love you. Okay, out we go. Bye, Denise. Have a great day. So we're just going to do that same thing again this year. Same with pickup. We're going to be much better with that. So that flow worked really well at my former school. And again, we had a major, Route 8, which saw a lot of traffic go through. It worked really well. So I'm hoping that we can have people go around, take the kids out, and there might be a lineup on part of the driveway, but not all the way down. So we're going to give that a try.
Sounds good. I was just thinking, that's a lot of people. You're not used to having, that many people driving in, and just, you never know. It just could be chaotic if it's,
I think the first couple of days will be chaotic until we say, literally, open that back door. Okay, let's go. Let's have a great day. Keeping our distance. Out comes the kid. I think within 4 or 5 days, people will sort of get that, and they'll.
There's a lot of parents that aren't used to driving their kids to school at all, so they have no experience with this. So they're used to just sending them on the bus. So you might have some of that, My only other question is the cold weather. What are we thinking about kids being outside in the cold?
Oh my God, we had all the windows open today. It was freezing up in Conway today. So we have that fundraiser that Carrie Lusignan was doing. It came to be close to $4,000. I really think we're going to get blankets for kids and things like that. I mean, they're tough. They're Conway kids, but got blankets and layers and also remember that outside education isn't just about, sitting in a reading group outside. It's about exploring and taking hikes and doing, just a different type of education. So getting kids moving and getting around. We have great windows in our school too. So, I happened to be in second grade today and they had all the windows open and the door, and there was just, they have most classes, all but one have an exterior door. So they had all of that open and it was just breezy and really nice. It was cold, but it was breezy and really nice in there. And so we're going to try to, get kids out, get them moving and, look,
it's going to be interesting. My kids stepped out today and they're like, "Oh, it's cold." And I'm thinking, "Oh,
I think we're going to use a lot of that money for like big fluffy blankets that we put kids' names on, and I was cold in school today. I was like, okay, we got to dress in layers here, but
for all the kids that don't want to wear the jackets typically and stuff like that, they're not going to be able to get away with those things anymore. They're going to have to wear stuff on the clothes.
Yeah. And then, Denise, the other thing is there are kids that love to be outside, even if it's cold. Some of those kids that I'm like, put your jacket on. I said to one kid last year, I said, listen, you can take your jacket off only if I get a note from your parents. Like, by golly, didn't he bring a note in the next day? I said, wait, you're making me nervous. I'm going to get some. But there are a lot of kids who love outside. So even if we have a 50-50 type of thing where, some small groups are outside and the kids who like to be warm and they're inside. So we're going to figure that out, because today I realized I'm like, oh, it's cold in Conway today.
No more sixth grade boys in their shorts. I think Clayton tried to wear shorts every day of the sixth grade. He almost succeeded. It's a thing.
And pediatricians will tell you, even though I say it to kids all the time, they do not get sick by not wearing jackets and wearing shorts. Bill?
So Kristen, the thing I always remember about the fall is that at the Conway Grammar is how many teachers utilize the forest behind the school for lessons in the fall. And do we right now have safe access to the forest for the children? And what are we doing? So I have a role in this, and I have, no matter what you answer, I'm going to have comments about. So
help me, please, because I got a letter after the tornado from what is Allison Hunter part of?
She's a forester.
I got a letter that we could not use the nature trail and everything because there are trees down from the tornado, and it wasn't a safe area. We could not use it until they came for cleanup. And I've inquired a couple of times, and we're just haven't been on the list for a clean cleanup. Our kids can't go back there.
Yeah, it's not that bad. You can get around there.
Yeah, but not when I get a letter like that.
Is that something the public can help with?
So part of the thing is that, but I don't know if you're all aware that there's been the big town meetings about virtual meetings about the town forestry plans for that town forest behind the school. And many people bitterly complain that there was not safe access for the students currently to get back there. and I understand from speaking with Bruce and from speaking with our highway boss that a safe route has been selected. Do you know about that?
No, our nature trail that the parents created, and the teachers,
Right.
that's not safe. There's trees all down. It's still from the tornado.
Right. I've been just putting on my select board member hat. I've been trying to really push on this because this is something that our highway boss has known about for many months. The need to get safe access for the kids to get out there, especially since the highway boss's placement of equipment in many locations has led to the loss of that safe access.
Yeah, because we use that all the time before, all the time.
I know. So, and I attempted to actually issue like an order that safe access be created. And I was disappointed in the pushback that I received from our town administrator in this regard. But the long and the short of it is that there is an awareness that this is a highly desirable thing from the students. But if I may, if you could place a phone call to the highway boss, and just saying, look, if you can get us access by the beginning of school or shortly thereafter, that would be a good thing. But because I've been trying to do it from my end, and this is the unfortunate busy time of the year for road building and actual road stuff, highway stuff. But
I thought that ticks were an issue at one point, and that's why it was kind of closed down. Ticks or something.
Denise, what did you think was an issue?
Ticks.
No, Phil, the letter, I wish I had the letter in front of me. It not only talked about safety, it talked about endangered. What
it was endangered salamanders or something, or frogs, right? Or vernal pools, because there's two neighbors and their property abuts that field. And one of them is
a real problem.
They're both problems, but just on different ends of the spectrum. One of them wants to save every sort of tick, caterpillar, butterfly creature that's back there. And the other one would walk up the hill and chain smoke and glare at the kids he would be on his property.
Yeah.
So the boundary to the back of it, I think he's still there. I mean, he's still around.
But the town has a right to be there, and I think
absolutely.
I think he's chilled out considerably since then.
Okay.
Well, because the kids aren't in there anymore. When the kids were in there,
there was something about salamanders or vernal pools or some sort of thing that Allison had to write.
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't just about the safety. It was about
some animal that was being disturbed.
There's no water up there.
No.
Is that something the conservation committee would be involved in?
I don't know.
So this you're talking about years ago, though, a few years ago, and just a recent update.
We went trying to find these animals in March to go see if they were back there. So it was
just in the past couple of weeks, there was a big Zoom meeting with over 80 people in this town, including Allison, that all voted that in the top 10 things that the town is going to be putting money behind for that town forest, in that top 10 was the use of students of the Conway Grammar School for their own nature's thing. And
maybe she can.
And she was part of that.
Maybe she can write Kristen a letter saying that it's all good. There's no salamanders and the kids can use it again.
Yeah,
they still have to clean up the trees in there.
Jim, can I have a couple clarifications here? Just who owns the land? What is the problem with the access? Listen, Conway's a metropolis compared to where I grew up in Worthington. Okay, so access, if you had to step over a tree that has fallen, it's only if the trees are dangling. That's the danger. I don't understand do we need to, and how much of a path do we need to create?
No,
And
the
then on top
tornado.
of it, Bill, I think the 5th and 6th grade should have a curriculum about forest study and make a recommendation to the town about what they can do about that property back there. I mean, we can do a lot of different things, but so I guess what's the question here?
The tornado. The tornado really destroyed it, though.
No, it knocked a few trees over. It's a woodland. It's
Have you been
resilient.
back there, Phil?
What's that?
Have you been
I go
back there?
I go back there all the time.
Aren't
It's
there
lovely.
trees hanging on to other trees, though, that need to be cut down?
That's what I was asking. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. What is the danger?
Just a couple, but there's
trees.
There's trail workarounds already that have been established around those. The sort of you go around.
I know just a couple, but I can't send those little kids out there when there's trees.
I'll go explore it sometime soon.
Well, I'll go
So it's the town's responsibility to clean this up.
I think there was one or two that they were really worried about that have come down on their own accord since they were really worried about. But there is like I think it's almost 100 acres. That's a town-owned forest, and it's up to the town to continually decide what to do with it. And we're always in that process. And for instance, I just wrote and just today received knowledge that got approved for a grant of $20,000 to do a feasibility study to get carbon credits for the town to get paid for not cutting the trees down in that little forest.
Well, somebody's logging the other end of that forest.
This is true. Right where the town border ends. Where the town.
I think that's is that Cole's Lumber or is
Correct.
that yeah.
Correct.
So, Phil, we had a half-a-mile trail out there, and when I was there this summer, there were trees that you might not notice at first glance, but they had fallen and they're holding on to another tree. They weren't down this summer. If they're down now, that I didn't know that, but that wasn't the tone of Allison's letter. That was me about safety, because I was like, it's just not safe back here. But the tone of Allison's letter was something like Ashley's talking about. It wasn't about, it was something else. I wish I have the file at school. I wish I had it with me. I'll look into it. I'll call you, Phil.
All right. So, and just to get back to answer the rest of Darius's question. So what has impeded access since is number one, the new highway facilities that have been created. And number two, the decision by the highway director to store all these old plows and like giant hunks of metal right where the trail access used to be.
Yes.
Isn't that a jungle gym? Bunch of people climb over.
Right.
I can't make jokes like that, Superintendent. I mean, of course, safety hazard.
Right. And so, I've received verbal promises that this stuff will be moved, that safe access will be created to the satisfaction of all concerned, because there's room enough within the town land to do so, but that it has not yet been done. And so that's what I've been trying to sort of ascertain, where the delay and what the snafus really is. But I see it's not on Kristen's end.
No.
But the trail that the parents built, Phil, isn't that far back. It's right behind the playground.
Yeah, but then
it's to the side of that. It's not the trails that we hike that go through Lockheads at the back. It's right at the back. It was a little loop right behind the playground that they could access from the playground.
And the two of them need to be connected.
They do, but I mean, the immediate focus is they could go right out behind the school and get right on that trail right there. And there's no equipment in the way of that, I don't think. Just the ones in the way back. The equipment would be on the playground then, Phil, if it was.
Right, but the new back wall of the storage barn really impacts with what you're talking about, though, and there does need to be a little bit of a workaround from that.
All right, we'll have to go take a look.
We'll check it out.
Yeah. All righty. Is that the end of your report, Kristen?
Yes, thank you.
All righty. I'm glad we're off to a good year despite all the challenges you face.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're exhausted because I know you work and your staff work very hard at this. So we appreciate that.
Thanks, Elaine.
Darius, what's next?
So the next thing on our agenda is we have a few policies to look at. The first one being public comment. So, today I put in a procedure to have public comment being submitted in writing. You're kind of you're 4 out of 5 committees into this discussion, so I'll kind of give you an update of where everybody else is at, which may help you in your decisions. Right now, people have voted this policy and asked me to go back and they voted this policy, so there's something in place to protect us as, so we have a process for public comment while we create looking at possibly having a recording line. Well, let me review what the policy says first, and I think that may probably make it a little bit easier to understand where we're at. So basically, we're adding the language that says in the event of a special or regular meeting of the committee that is held remotely, public comment must be submitted in writing at least 24 hours in advance to the chair of the school committee. During the remote meeting, public comments will be shown on the screen for viewing or read at the meeting, provided the comments are consistent with the rules and procedures detailed in this policy. So other committees felt like there's just not enough availability for public to make a comment because if it's submitted in writing well in advance, and can we look at maybe a phone line where people can call and leave a message for a public comment that obviously can be screened. The other one was if people could be invited in to make a public comment and we can authenticate who they are. So I'm so on and so forth. This is my resident, and then we let that person in. Right now, Google Meet is supposed to come out with new protections and stuff in the next month or so. There's this big new release that everybody's waiting for from Google that may actually provide a lot of the protections that we need within a public meeting where we can shut people out and not let them back in and so on and so forth. Or stop people from public commenting without being recognized, that kind of stuff. Those are things that I believe the new Google Meet. So this might just be a short-term fix anyways. That's my hope. But so anyways, that's kind of where I'm at. The other committees voted this moving forward. Actually, I was just left Sunderland, and they actually got rid of the 24 hours and that said, because I even checked it right up to 4 o'clock today, even though it said 24 hours, which had been yesterday. The problem is, I had Donna had to check it. Donna had to check it from the road because she was she was out this afternoon, so she had to check it on the road in order to let me know, so I could let Elaine know if we had any public comment. So there's like a lot of while it seems very easy, it's just like another task on top of all the other tasks that I do 5 times. So, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, I do want some sort of streamlined system in it, but I'm hoping that the Google thing is coming. But so anyway, to summarize, the other committees voted this into place for now, but they've requested that I go back and try to figure out how we can do an audio recording and possibly invite people in to make a comment if they can let us know ahead of time they'd like to be invited, and I can send them an invite that they can't share, which is, another thing out there as well. So that's where the other committees are. Public comment is an important part of this committee's work when there is comment,
Is it because of 250 people showing up on meetings and kind of carrying the meeting away kind of thing? Or?
Oh, no, Elaine, this had to do with the Zoom bomb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the fact that we were unable to stop the pornography the other night until we get those protections in place, the problem, the police are dealing with it, but it wasn't a single person, it was multiple people in a coordinated effort. So, which, they're going out there and they're just randomly finding these publicly posted meetings, and they're just kind of picking the jump in on them.
Were they local or national?
We don't believe that they're local. They certainly were adults, not high school kind of kids playing a prank. It was an adult, and there were multiple members of them. That's why the principals were having trouble trying to blocking them from putting things up, because they had up to 4 accounts going at the same time. And so anyways, I'm trying to, obviously put something in place until we can get better security on that. And that's what that's what I'm trying to do. for the next meeting at least, and then maybe we'll have better technology by the third.
So
meeting.
do you want us to vote this in the moment then?
So yeah, I mean, I'd like you to vote this in the moment, and then also, I'm going to come up with I'm going to try to come up with some sort of way of doing an audio recording so that those who can't write or is a hampering for them for public comment can leave an audio recording. And then we also could invite people. And I did invite the union in tonight. They apparently didn't send anybody, but I sent them a link to join us tonight, and I have for the other committee meetings as well, so that there's members from our teachers here. They can be a part of the conversation as well. But I'm going to come up with those other things as well. But this is what we have in writing for tonight, so at least we have something to fall back on. That we have an opportunity for public comment. We're not restricting that, and then I might be able to put a procedure that allows more by next month. Does that make sense?
I do think other school committees have a policy of having public comment submitted prior, instead of having the public on there. I think.
Yeah, so this policy was lifted, but was given to me by the attorney that our neighboring districts are using. Amherst uses something similar, but they also have a phone line you can call in, and those are things, and it's been working successfully in that community. Hampshire Regional did something. They got Zoom bombed a couple months ago, and they updated. They're actually on Zoom. They updated to a written in advance policy, I think, which is this. However, the other committees felt that this was too restrictive in a time where public comment should be encouraged, and they wanted me to do more than just submit it in writing 24 hours in advance. So I think we're kind of, this is where we have multiple meetings talking about the same thing. So, and so that's, and I think
Did you say if someone wants to make public comment, they'll validate that they're who they say they are, and then you're going to give them an invitation? Is that what you're doing, so that they can join in on the meeting?
So there's three options. One, we can, one is that they can submit in writing 24 hours in advance, or even right up there too, but guaranteed 24 hour in advance with the language that the problem is that the day of, if you guys are the second meeting, if someone did anything between 5 and 7, I was on another meeting, so I could facilitate that. My staff is at home, and they're not, unless we're going to pay them to work in the evenings, that kind of stuff, so there's these weird kind of quirks to it. So anyways, they can submit in writing. I'm trying to find a way to do an audio recording where they can leave a recorded message, and that can be played, can be previewed and played. The other one is someone could be invited to be invited in if they wanted to speak. And quite frankly, they could be invited in, they could speak, and then we could actually dismiss them from the meeting after the public comment is over, and then they can join on the streaming live right now. So something like that. That way, if someone says, I really would, you're imagining if someone's going to go through the effort to wanting to speak here, they're going to be on hopefully a solid subject of something that we're discussing. Public comment goes up and down depending on what's going on. We have, months with nothing, and then 20, so.
Yeah,
so that's kind of the plan moving forward. And then at the same time, if technology improves, we'll be able to modify it again. We'll have you guys change the policy yet again. So, yeah,
I'm kind of understanding what Sunderland's objection to the 24 hours in advance. Our committee times, like Sunderland was at 5:30 today. We're at 7, so the public would get a later time. I don't know, maybe if it's just like by noon of the meeting day or something, just like a hard stop.
Right. I mean, I can do I can even do greater than that. I can do by 3 o'clock the day of. That gives us enough time to review it before the work day's over here.
Yeah. So, but I appreciate all the effort on this.
So, Michael, just so you know that in the Frontier meeting last week, I was a big proponent of asking Darius to do something more than just as he's talking about, because my take on all this is that the big enemy of us as school committee members is apathy. and that when you do get that person, that the resident that's willing, that has a comment, and you put hurdles in front of that person and you make it harder for them to participate, that's bad for us all. And especially since most of the time we don't get much participation from the public. So I'm a big proponent of as close to unfettered access and welcoming public participation as we possibly can, because I think it's in all of our best long-term interests. So,
well, except we're talking short-term here.
That's a great point, Phil. Well, I mean, if you think about what Phil's saying, sometimes a hurdle is being on a meeting at 7:15 at night. But if I could make my comment at 9 in the morning and ensure that it's read for me, that actually opens up access, as opposed to I have to be at a meeting at 7:15 during the public comment before it closes. That's actually a hurdle in and of itself.
This is true.
Good point.
This is true. I like Harry's way of phrasing it, though, and I'm all in favor of the short-term solution and then the slightly more medium-term, better solution.
Because their whole point was to try to undermine confidence in this remote learning and this remote meeting and all that by, dropping that, I'm sure parents who were at that meeting now are like, oh my God, my kid could be in a second grade lesson and get, porn streaming on his computer. That would be terrifying.
That happens.
Just for those watching, it's very different. The school classrooms Google platform, you can only be, if you're invited in with the school accounts, and it's only those students can get in. So even parents can't get into those classrooms unless they're invited in directly. So just want parents, I don't want that kind of general fear out there. Dr. Campbell, I don't like you sending fear out to the community. And I try to forget, it's a very different than when we send a Google link out to the world and we say, please come join us for our meeting, versus these very closed things where, that really cannot happen.
Right. I'm just saying that was part of the point of them doing that, was to undermine confidence.
Yeah, I think it's also just
not that they could do it, but that they were seeking to cause trouble.
Yeah.
So
you have a series of you have two other policies that have to be voted tonight. To do so, you need to waive in your policy for policy adoption. The school committee may dispense with the above sequence to meet emergency conditions, and that is the double reading, so that we read it one meeting, we vote at the next meeting. You have three things, the other two tonight. So you have the public comment that we need to update so that we can do it at the next meeting. You have face coverings, which I need you to adapt so that we can have the first day of school, where students are coming back, and we have a policy in place to support face coverings. And then the last one is about remote learning, which is, we're probably already late in the sense of adopting a remote learning policy that just kind of does the overall outline of, our goals and strategies for remote learning, making sure that all people are involved, that it's not exclusionary in our practices and that such. So those are the three that you have to do. So what I'm recommending is that you first make a motion to waive the policy adoption to do a single reading and vote tonight.
So moved.
You need a second, and you got to do a roll call vote of that.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. And Denise, you approve of this?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And I approve also. So it's unanimous that we will not need a second reading. And can we vote all policies together?
You could vote all three together. So I did just do a quick run over, but if you had a chance to go through them, the face covering policy just basically is a policy about what our rules are around mask use at school. And again, the remote learning policy, it just basically gives us a structure that we have to follow for, which we already built around using this kind of these language and such, but it holds us to it. So.
All righty. Can I have a motion to approve these 3 policies?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor of these 3 policies? Denise?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And I approve of these 3 policies, so they all pass unanimously.
Excellent. The only thing you have left now are committee reports. I mean, the chair report, collaborator report, principal report, and superintendent report.
I believe Kristen gave us hers in her update. Is there a collaborative report, Michael?
The collaborative, the last meeting I attended, they are addressing some budgetary concerns. They're still offering classes. They're still working with all the districts. The executive director is retiring, and they're doing a new executive director search. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. There's a lot going on at the collaborative, but it's still under good hands and still going.
That's not an easy task to find an executive director to handle that. But
I thought that executive director was excellent.
yeah,
And I especially
Bill
appreciate
Deal is an amazing person. Yeah.
and his ability and willingness to attempt to affect public discussions about education issues with frequent editorials, and is very well written. But he really got himself out there, and I think that we're going to miss him.
yeah, no, he was very hard, tough act to follow. He will be. I do not have a report. Darius, do you have anything?
Nope.
All righty. So do we need to go into executive session?
Nope. That was just there. Oh, we did. Oh my God, we almost didn't vote the MOA. Oh, that's not funny. That's what happens when I have 5 hours straight of meetings.
Don't worry.
You were going to catch that, Bill? Mike? All right. So the last thing you need to vote is, you know what? This is what happens when I'm running the agenda and not the chair. You also need to vote the memorandum of agreement. This is what we were discussing in the executive session. We couldn't return to vote. You do have an executive session if you really wanted to go back and talk about it more, but I think we did. We finished our discussion on it at that joint meeting. So,
can I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding?
Darius, can I just ask you a question before you go on? The template that Donna gave me, and I'm happy to cross this out. I just wanted to make sure you knew, because I know you've been doing a lot of meetings. On the template that Donna gave me, it has you going into executive session to take the vote and then coming back out.
No.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure.
We went to, it's just there in case we had to go into.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda I'm looking at, and that's not how we did it the last 3 times. So.
Okay. All right. It just went to
Memorandum agreement, the working condition and changes for the 2020-2021 school year between the Teachers 38, Unit 38 Teachers Association, Instructional Assistants Association, and the Conway School Committee.
All righty. Can I have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement.
Second?
Second.
All righty. Let me see. Denise?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Michael? And I
Yes.
approve it also, so it is unanimous. All righty. So now I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes. So moved.
All right. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
I'll second it.
Yes.
All righty.
Yes.
That's a wrap.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Keep up the great work, Kristen and Darius.
Thanks.
And
Thanks,
Shelley.
Elaine.
All right, thank you. Okay,
Bye,
bye-bye.
everybody.
Night.
Dash, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do
Are
we have-
you having internet issues where you want the kids to come in 4 days or?
No, I was having internet issues today when I was trying to get on the meeting.
But you don't have them in general?
Just regular issues, not internet issues.
Okay.
But not with school. Nothing you can help me with.
Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
thanks. No, I'm kind of nervous about these. I couldn't find a Chromebook to save my life, Kristen. And then Staples, it was supposed to be in like 2 days ago, a new computer. And I don't know, it just came in today. So I think everything's backed up. I think they're selling stuff they don't have. And
Our Chromebooks are backed up to, they're supposed to be in August and then they're stuck in China till October.
yeah,
At
I know.
least.
I'm worried about it. But we got on. It just takes a while. The clickable classroom is way easier than the stuff that was
Good.
earlier, previous in the year, the last school year. So it's good.
Hey,
Michael,
I'm
we
going
had a
to
little
just
mess.
interject here. Chris,
Yeah,
can I ask a quick question first?
sure.
I'm still noticing both that we're recording and we're streaming live still. Can I end that now? I think I have the access to do it.
I don't, so.
I
All right,
don't
let's
either.
see. I'll hit stop streaming.